Welcome back to the NT Daily for Monday, June 15th. I'm Erin. Thanks for being patient with us as we get the episode out a little later today, but I thought it was important since we have so much happening at the local level with city government to have Stephi on today. And because we are the seat of government, we are mostly focused on government today. So not only do we have city council, minibikes, stunt driving, rezoning requests, fascinating stuff. We also have parking garage funding, which is sitting in one of the budget bills on the governor's desk. Like I said, we will have Stephi Smith on later to do a preview of tonight's council meeting. We're also going to talk about that Planning and Zoning Commission meeting from Thursday night. It had more plot twists than one of my Bravo Real Housewives reunions. So we'll get to that with Stephi. But first, we need to start with the state level with Auditor Scott Fitzpatrick. On Thursday, we had this article in the News Tribune, a report on Missouri's budget. The auditor is not usually out here grabbing headlines every day, but when the auditor comes out and says the budget is in trouble, that is kind of like your accountant calling you in the middle of the day. You usually got to pick up those calls. Here's the basic issue. Missouri Auditor Scott Fitzpatrick released a report last week warning that Missouri is close to exhausting the surplus lawmakers have been using to balance the state budget in recent years, which is government speak for the cushion starting to run out. The report says there will still be some surplus left at the end of the new fiscal year, which starts July 1st, but not enough to sustain current spending in the following year. And unlike the federal government, Missouri has to balance its budget. It does not just get to borrow money to cover a shortfall. There is no put it on the credit card option. So the auditor's report says the budget passed this year missed a chance to take responsible, proactive steps to get spending and revenue aligned. Again, that's according to Fitzpatrick. He warned that if the state waits too long, it will eventually be forced into emergency budget reductions. The report estimates the general revenue fund will be about $627 million short of what would be needed to sustain spending at current levels. Quick side note, the capital gains tax cut that the state legislature implemented from last year comes in around a couple $100 million, 500 to 600 million that we don't have anymore. Just a side note. There are a few reasons this is happening. The state has been using surplus funds built up over the COVID federal stimulus that we were getting during the pandemic. Those were one-time funds. Some of those are winding down. At the same time, Medicaid costs are putting new pressure on general revenue. Depending on who you ask, tax cuts are part of the story. Republicans and Democrats are going to argue about whose fault that is. That's what they do. But for the rest of us, this is the takeaway, practical takeaway. Missouri's budget picture is getting tighter, and the governor has some big decisions to make before July 1st. The budget bills are sitting on Governor Mike Kehoe's desk. He has until June 30th before the new fiscal year starts on July 1st. We are watching that process closely here in Jefferson City, not just because of the state budget, but because tucked into one of those budget decisions is money that local leaders are watching very closely. $15 million for a new parking garage downtown. Downtown Jefferson City Incorporated has been urging the governor to approve that $15 million line item appropriation for a new garage at East Capitol and Madison Street. That is the same area where the city is proposing the conference center. Again, this is a huge development project. It is going to be 30,000 square feet of meeting space and a 200-room hotel with new parking that we are missing since they demolished the Madison Street parking garage. So they included that. Again, the governor has line item veto authority. So that means that he can withhold money or he can completely veto it in his budget. The city demolished the Madison Street garage earlier this year. The Madison Street garage had about 500 parking spaces. City officials estimate a replacement garage will cost around $20 million. Downtown business owners are saying, please do not line item veto our parking here in the capital city. Some cities have developed a healthy emotional relationship with parking. We are not one of those cities. So we talk about parking like it has wronged us for generations, but the governor has until the end of the month to act on the budget. We are excited, before we bring Stephi in, we are super excited to announce that we have a new sponsor at the NC Daily, MU Healthcare. MU Healthcare's front door is never too far away from yours, with more than 80 locations across mid-Missouri and expert hospital care in Jefferson City and Columbia. MU Healthcare is committed to ensuring every Missourian has access to the region's most advanced diagnostic and treatment options. MU Healthcare, expert care close to you. And now we are going to bring in Stephi Smith. We're going to talk a little bit about what is on the agenda for City Council tonight, and again, a recap of that Thursday meeting. And we have our favorite local government reporter, Stephi Smith, is back in the studio to talk about all things city government updates. We have a City Council meeting tonight, Monday night, June 15th, and we had a very interesting planning and zoning meeting play out last Thursday, so we're going to talk about both of those things. But first, Stephi, give us a rundown of what's on the agenda tonight.
They have an ordinance that would prohibit mini bikes from being operated on public streets within Jefferson cities, and this does not include like e-bikes or any of those kinds of things. It's just mini bikes, which I think they describe as, or define as a two-wheeled motorized vehicle not registered for street use with the Missouri Department of Revenue. It's not include a bicycle, e-bike, any of that stuff. And then they also have an ordinance to ban stunt driving in Jefferson City, and that's like wheelies, burnouts, donuts, and then street takeovers, which I guess when people shut down the whole road and kind of do some stunt driving.
Yeah. And the impetus for this is that Chief Wilde, I think a couple weeks ago, said that there's just been kind of a sharp increase in kind of the nuisance calls that they've gotten over both of these things, right?
Yeah, particularly with mini bikes, it's the noise, and then also, I guess, some teenagers were driving them pretty recklessly and running some stoplights and all that. And then with the street takeovers, I think it was a lot of the donuts and kind of burnouts that people are doing in parking lots.
Yeah, that should be an interesting conversation. Kind of seems fairly straightforward to me, but we'll see. I know that Councilwoman Jobe has expressed some concerns publicly about an outright ban, but I've seen them around town. I think they're kind of hard to navigate around.
Yeah, that's
because
also...
they're not following traffic laws. It doesn't appear to me that they are following traffic laws. Although our traffic laws lately have been kind of up in the air and a little murky, so I can understand maybe why. But
with the mini bikes, I think Chief Willie also said they're pretty low to the ground, so like you can't always see them when you're in a vehicle.
They are very low to the ground.
So
yeah, and I'm very high on the ground with my vehicle, so it is kind of hard to see them. Yeah, so lots of safety issues, traffic safety issues. Traffic safety seems to be a theme at council lately. I think we can say. Yeah. Stuff. The other big thing that I think everybody's kind of curious about is this vacancy process. Ward 3, Derek Thomas. Do you think they'll discuss that tonight?
Yeah, they have an ordinance that they're going to vote on, and then they have an amendment to that ordinance because there was a big discussion at the last meeting about the original ordinance was saying that council members and the mayor could submit nominations to fill a vacancy, and some council members kind of took issue with that. They thought that the mayor should not be involved in that process. So they have an amended ordinance that just kind of removes the mayor. It says like council members and not the mayor.
Has Mayor Fitzwater weighed in on that?
He has not. You're kind of just...
He's been neutral on it?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's probably safe. From my perspective, probably safe. We did have an op-ed. I'm not sure what day it ran over the weekend, but it had an opinion on whether the mayor is a member of council, and it actually made the parallel between the vice president breaking a tie in the Senate, but not being a member of the Senate or a elected senator. And I thought that was probably a fairly good parallel for those who don't follow these things closely.
I was thinking about that as well, because I was looking up, is the vice president a member of the Senate? Because that is kind of the same rules that the mayor has, where he breaks a tie, and he's I believe the vice president is technically like the president of the Senate. And it says in the city charter that the mayor is president of the council, so it's like
fairly similar. Yeah, I thought that we appreciated that local op-ed. I'm really trying to get into the local op-ed, so we appreciate them. Keep them coming. But I thought that was a good one. I think it's good that they have clarity here, because I think that the big thing about the vacancy process has been no one has quite understood it, or it's been kind of clunky according to the lawyers, and they've put forward several processes, several different proposals to address it. So I think clarity is probably just good in this case.
Yeah,
but where are they at then in the timeline to replace Derek Thomas, though?
I imagine that they're going to wait until this city code ordinance either passes or they completely change it and decide to start over and keep the old one. But Derek Thomas resigned, I believe, effective June 2nd. And then, so I did ask Molly Bryan at the city if they have had any letters of interest yet. I have not gotten their response back, but they would then take those letters of interest, and then I think the council and the mayor would then, I guess not the mayor, actually, depending on this ordinance. And then they would either like put forward some nominations and then vote. So within probably about a month, we'll see maybe some names.
So we will get a full rundown of tonight's council meeting in tomorrow, Tuesday morning's paper from Steffi. But we are also planning on having City Administrator Brian Crane is coming to the NT Daily studio this week to sit down with Steffi and I. He'll be here on Wednesday morning, so we might get to talk to him about some of these things, but hopefully we will talk to him about all the big projects coming to Jefferson City. So we're excited to have Brian on. The other big thing we want to talk about was Thursday's Planning and Zoning Commission. I've never seen a local city government meeting, standing room only, packed. Have you, in your years of coverage with the Tribune, seen it that busy?
Very rare to see, especially at those planning and zoning meetings. It was very funny because at the end of the meeting, after they voted, they still had to do some business, and everybody left, and it was just me in the front row by myself.
Planning and zoning commissioners. Yeah, it was an interesting meeting. I think, from my perspective, again, sharing my opinion here, there was a lot of support in that room and again, just to recap, it was about the proposal for, is it 107 Adams?
107 Adams.
107 Adams. The Planning Commission had to either make a positive or negative recommendation to the council about the purchase of the building. And again, this is housing the community. Jefferson City would like to put a resource and day center and expand their bed capacity for overnight homeless shelter. I thought they laid out a fairly good case. And there were just some twists and turns. Obviously, there was some pushback from East Capitol business owners. I don't think that was the surprising part. I think the surprising part came from at some point during the meeting. I had left at that point, but at some point during the meeting, I think the Salvation Army got up and spoke. Did they officially take a position, or did they just get up and speak?
So they have, during the planning and zoning meetings, they have opportunity for people to speak in favor, and then they have opportunity for people to speak in opposition, and then opportunity for people to speak in general. And the Salvation Army went up for the in general kind of moment.
But those in the audience that I spoke to on background said that they felt like it tilted towards not being in support of the project.
It was, I guess depends on who you ask, but they did seem a little bit upset about maybe some of the testimony during that evening. Both of the people from the Salvation Army who spoke said that they did not intend to speak. They came to just listen to the meeting, but they heard some people mention the Salvation Army during their testimony, and they interpreted those testimony as like the Salvation Army isn't doing enough for the unhoused population in Jefferson City. Scott Johnston with HCJC said that he does not believe that. He said that what Salvation Army does is like critical for Jefferson City. And it was kind of more of a tense moment at that.
I think the disappointing thing for me, again, Erin's opinion here, Steffi is reporting. I am giving my opinion on how the night went. I think anytime that you see broad public support and people take time out of their schedules to come to a planning and zoning meeting, and they show up in numbers like that, I mean, we want people to be engaged with local government. I think it's disappointing when we have a negative recommendation when there was clearly so much support in the room. I hope that does not deter people from staying actively engaged on the issue and future issues. So I thought that was interesting. Have you seen council in recent memory still move forward with projects even though they had a negative recommendation from planning?
There have been some housing development projects that I believe still moved forward. The one that I'm thinking of right now, it was originally going to be 230 homes, and then the developer, because of the pushback from people who live nearby, he did knock it down, I believe, to 140 homes. And the city council approved both of those.
Yeah.
And people were pretty surprised, but the city council members would say that when they ran for office, they said that they wanted to put more housing in Jefferson City, so they would say that they're promising their voters.
Yeah.
What they said
that makes sense. Interesting to see how this issue will ultimately play out. When will it go to council? Do we know when the public hearing is?
It says this case is tentatively scheduled for a public hearing in front of the city council on August 3rd.
August 3rd. Okay. Well, we will keep you updated on that as that story develops. But Steffi had a really good recap article up on Friday, if you have not seen that yet. And I have a few more updates before we head out for the NT Daily today. But thank you, Steffi, again for being here. I love having her in here every 2 weeks to give us the latest. And we will have more city government later this week with City Administrator Brian Crane. Before we get to quick updates to finish up today's NT Daily, I just want to remind you that NT Daily is also brought to you by Hen House, your local market here in Jefferson City. And I'll just say it, if you're into pork like my house is, this week is for you at Hen House. Their new ad is full of fresh deals and summer meals, including boneless pork loins for $1.99 a pound, whole pork tenderloins for $2.99 a pound, boneless pork chops for $2.49 a pound, and pork loin boneless country-style ribs for $2.29 a pound. That is a lot of pork, but they also have bacon-wrapped beef filet mignon steaks, Casey strip steaks, Tyson frozen chicken wing deals, sweet yellow onions, southern peaches, black plums, seedless watermelon, red seedless grapes are in the produce section, deli specials, cinnamon rolls, and chocolate chip cookies in the bakery. Hen House is at 1904 Southwest Boulevard in Jefferson City. And if you want their hot deal sent straight to your phone, text Hen House 41570. All right, couple of quick local updates. A sweet quick update for you. Russellville has its first ice cream parlor. Rville Scoops open this weekend. It's going to serve Central Dairy ice cream, baked goods, savory snacks. It's owned by Justin and Krista Davis, who also own Humpy's Bar and Grill, which is a local hotspot in Russellville right around the corner. It is great to have another Central Dairy option, particularly closer to me. They're going to be open 3 to 9 p.m. on weekdays and 3 to 10 on weekends. So that is exciting. Also, we had the Bittersweet Garden Club's annual garden tour was held on Sunday, showcasing backyard beauty across Jefferson City. Stephi Smith had the story, had a great story on Dennis and Tanya Ortmeyer's home on Twin Lake Drive. They have about 3 acres with a gazebo, koi pond, vegetable garden, beautiful flower beds. Tana Ortmeyer described the garden like artwork, which I really appreciated. If my garden were artwork and it was not featured this Sunday, just want to say that, the artist would be called overwhelmed with fighting Bermuda and invasive grass. So I don't think my garden's going to be on the garden tour anytime soon. But I did get a lot of help this weekend. Blake helped me lay a 4-yard trailer of mulch in my garden, which I didn't like. It tells you what a novice gardener that I am when I tell you that I don't know what a 4-yard trailer, I don't know what that amounts to. So I had to Google it, but it means 108 bags of standard mulch. So that feels like, I feel like I went through CrossFit with weeds and mulch this weekend, but I'm trying. So I could use all the gardening tips. I think maybe I need to call some of the members of the Bittersweet Garden Club to get some tips, but thanks to Blake for helping me do that. Anyways, I have a deep, deep appreciation for everyone whose garden was actually on the tour this weekend, and I think you should check out the highlights from the Sunday paper. And that's the NT Daily for Monday. We will be back again in the morning. Thanks for sticking with us, and as always, you can reach us at ntdaily@newstribune.com. Have a great Monday.